Hello, YouTube. Hey. I'm back to review the second quest of cyberchase. I realize that it's been like 2 months since my last review. Sorry about that. I didn't forget, I've just been busy with stuff. So, let's get into it. Quest 2 picks up where I left off. Remember that skating contest that caused immense confusion for me last time? This time, there's actually going to be a real contest. Supposedly. So, Hacker cheated and took over Radopolis. I'm supposed to beat his score, which will somehow fix everything, I think.
Go to Radopolis and find Slider. He can help you. Good luck, and thank you.
Insert horribly compressed audio, and I'm in the game. Same home base from last time. The game even carries over the items that I collected, which is cool. I neglected to show off some of my trinkets last time, so I'll do that now. I have some good stuff. I have the creepy dancing humanoids that play music. The boombox also plays the music. That stands to reason. Bats in a jar, because you can't have a video game without bats. As I've established, none of these fixtures do anything of consequence. They just occupy space in my stark, empty room. Why do I even collect these? I'm not sure that I have an answer to that. Maybe I think that these useless items gain some inherent value by merit of the fact that I'm showing them off to all of you. They represent some small accomplishments that I've achieved in this digital world to earn money. I've removed the meaning from the deeds and interactions that I've committed to save cyberspace, and I've supplanted that meaning into disposable, mass-produced items that I can more easily show off and memorialize. What is this? Commodity fetishism for kids? We should really pay closer attention to the games that our children play, and the messages that they might be absorbing. Cyberspace hasn't changed very much between the quests. I still take the bus to Radopolis, and Slider still tells me to buy skateboard parts at the. That much is the same. I'm glad to say that Radopolis is slightly more populated than it was before. Like, there's this fat bastard who appears out of a bottle and he goes off yelling about crumpets, and I yell back, I'm like, okay, and then he gives a jetpack to me. Well, that was random. Hacker's floating apparition is back. Here I thought that I had seen the last of him. Still no idea what makes him appear. Back in Quest 1, there was one solitary NPC that would just skate right across the screen. In this quest, he doesn't just skate, he wipes out. I was even able to find the fabled The. It's at the mall. A little bit of buying and trading later, I have 3 of the 4 modules. I ran out of money before I could buy the wheels that I want, so I quickly swung by Our Fair City to do some grinding. I looked around for the 4th module while I was out. I actually found it in the very last place where I thought to look, which is at the Crab Castle. It's weird that it would appear in such a random location. This is the only skateboard part that is only available in a locale other than Radopolis or the mall. That doesn't really matter, though. I got the pieces together, and I'm ready to take them to Slider. He presumably puts the parts together off-screen while we're talking. That was surprisingly quick. I've only been playing for about 20 minutes at this point, and I'm already ready to enter the race. I've gotten this far without encountering a game-breaking glitch. All that I have to do is walk into the museum and... what the hell? So, I've continued to play this game through the Wayback Machine. It's an archived copy of a page on pbskids.org from 2018. When I enter the Rad Museum, for whatever reason, the race selection screen opens in another window. And it doesn't open an archived web page on the Wayback Machine, as you might expect. Instead, it's trying to redirect me to the original page on pbskids.org. That page no longer exists, so I'm stuck on an error screen. I kept loading and reloading the page, hoping to find a way to access an archived page from which I could access the races. I kept getting that same error message. From the beginning of Quest 1 up to this point in Quest 2, I had been playing in Chrome. I decided that it might be worthwhile to try playing in a different browser, so I did that. I went into Firefox and I opened the same exact page, the one that I've been using, in the Wayback Machine. I collected the required skateboard parts and I went to the museum. This time it worked. Instead of opening in another page, the race selection loaded in the same window, along with the rest of the game. I don't know why it loads differently in different browsers. I'm just glad that I got it to work somehow in the end. If you want to play cyberchase the Quest through the Wayback Machine, I suggest that you use Firefox or some other browser that you know to be compatible. Now that I'm finally in the race and I'm controlling the robot, I should try to explain the controls. Boy, where do I even begin with this? Firstly, there are 4 basic inputs that all use the arrow keys. I press up to jump, down to duck, left to slow down, and right to speed up. It sounds simple, right? Right? No, it's very not simple. These controls are awkward and unresponsive and terrible. Before I explain what's so awful about these controls, let's first establish a baseline of normal, sensible jumping controls in a video game. Mario is a fine example. Look at how Mario controls. If I slightly tap the jump button, he does a little short jump. If I hold the button longer, he jumps higher. Alright, that much is intuitive, I would hope. If Mario is running, he jumps farther in the horizontal dimension. If he's not running, he has a shorter range, but I am able to curve the arc in midair and precisely control where he lands. Those are all good, sensible design choices, and Race for Radopolis learned nothing from that archetype. Firstly, you can't control the jump height. I quickly tap up, and the robot jumps to the full extent of its arc. If I hold down the button for more than a few frames, I actually get the opposite effect from what you might expect. The robot won't jump higher. Instead, it will stop short of the zenith of its arc and continue to quickly crash back down into the pavement. If I continue to hold the jump button, the skatebot makes this horrible, chaotic crashing noise. I don't even know what to call it. It jumps very slightly off of the pavement and then goes right back down. It makes several of these very small jump arcs per second. When I trigger this chaotic jig, whether intentionally or by accident, I can't immediately jump to avoid an oncoming obstacle. I have to release the jump button, wait for the skatebot to stop bouncing haphazardly, and then jump. I usually just end up crashing into the nearest obstacle because I have little to no control. So, here's what I end up doing. I very lightly tap up to jump, and then immediately pull back my finger from the keyboard. If I hold it for even a few frames longer than what's necessary, I lose control. This is so awkward and nerve-wracking and unnecessary, to have to constantly ease off of and onto a button, and be mindful that I don't hold it for too long. Look, I've played plenty of games with terrible controls, but I usually take for granted the fact that I'm allowed to hold the jump button while jumping. What I want to know is, why is it like this? Who programmed this? Who had the extremely illogical idea of holding up to go down? Now, can I at least control where I land from a jump? Not very well. The jump has one predefined arc. I go up, and I go a certain distance to the right. As far as I can tell, my speed has no effect on this distance. I can't slow down in midair to control where I land. When the skatebot is in the air, I have no control of it until it lands. Actually, that's not true. At any point during a jump, I have the option to press up again, so that the skatebot slams down into the pavement and flails around. If you call that control, then yeah, this game has mid-jump control. If speed doesn't control jump distance, what does it control? Evidently not much. I've observed that it affects the horizontal distance that the bot travels when falling from the top of a ramp. If the bot is passing too quickly at this point, it won't have time to hit the pavement and duck under the platform. It's really not necessary to speed up at any point in any of these races. It's safer to just go slowly. I don't even have to get a very quick run to beat Hacker's time, so it hardly makes a difference. Then there's ducking. I'm glad to report that this mechanic is not quite as broken as jumping or changing speed. It's pretty simple. I just press and hold down to go under an obstacle. Here's the annoying part. The game won't let me input any other action while ducking. If I press an arrow key other than down, the skatebot will stand up like an idiot and bang its head. It won't even let me slow down. You can't slow down while ducking, because that makes sense. Now that I've explained the extremely broken controls, what actual obstacles exist in this race? Well, there are the generic skate park fixtures like ramps and rails. There's also this spring platform, which I hate. I still don't know how to anticipate what it does. Sometimes it springs me straight up into the air. Sometimes I roll right over it. Sometimes it springs up in front of me and makes me wipe out. How was I supposed to avoid that? Most of these obstacles aren't too difficult to avoid. I can power through the clunky controls and avoid crashing with enough trial and error. However, there's a ridiculous series of obstacles at the end of this course. After all of the times that I've played this, I still don't know how to consistently clear these obstacles. There's a ramp, and then 2 floating platforms. You would think that I could just jump from one platform to the other, right? When I go to jump, I fall right through it. What the hell? You people saw that. I clearly landed. I tried going under the second platform, and that doesn't work either. This course is so broken that it took me 27 minutes of trial and error just to get through it once. Then it was several more tries before I got through it quickly enough to beat the required time. Also, when I'm in a race, there's no pause feature and no way to exit to the main game. What's that about? In Quest 1, there were buttons that allowed me to click out of a minigame. Here, I'm stuck on this screen unless if I happen to clear the course or reset the page. I shouldn't have to do that, so I ended up playing this one race for 27 minutes straight. After innumerous attempts, I finally cleared this course. This is going to look simple, but trust me, it's not. Here is my comprehensive strategy for beating the first race of Shredfest. Step 1. Jump over these first few obstacles. Try to land on these weird brown trapezoids and begin to duck, then roll under that platform. If the spring platform decides not to activate, I can roll under the next floating platform, and I have ample space to jump. This next part is very important. Reduce speed before this ramp so that the skatebot lands on the small trapezoid and not after it. Duck immediately so that the skatebot doesn't hit its head. Then there's this part. Instead of falling through the platform, don't. A few more easy jumps and I win. Yeah, I got to the victory screen, but I don't feel like I've accomplished anything with my sunk time. I still don't know what exactly I did correctly to not fall through that platform. And look at how bland and uninspiring that message is. I don't get a congratulations or however you spell it. I get a your time was 58 seconds, comma, and 79 milliseconds. Even though the timer clearly displays in, Actually, how do you call 1/100th of a second? It is a centisecond. And the people who made this game should have known that. Know your metric prefixes. Prefixes? Whatever. Moving on. I click out of the victory screen, and I get stuck on another endless loading screen. The game is really unresponsive this time. The squawk pad won't even load to tell me whether or not it's registered my progress. So I reset the page, and sure enough, it only saved my progress up until right before I entered the race. I'm not going through that whole ordeal again, so I'm going to try the second race. The second race is easy so far. The obstacles are spaced out, so I actually have time to avoid them. The ice doesn't do much, besides making me go slightly more quickly. Then there's the pool of liquid water. So the developers couldn't figure out how to represent a body sinking into water. They decided to animate it such that the bottom portion of Skatebot slowly disappears. It looks ridiculous. Sometimes the bot starts to dissociate before even making contact with the water. It can also jump while this is happening. I have a jumping head with no legs. As much as I enjoy screwing around here, I'm clearly not making progress. I think that I'm going to have to find a jetpack to cross this water. There's still no quit button, so I'm going to reload the web page again. Imagine that you're playing a video game, and you get stuck on a dead end because you don't have an item that you need. Then you have to reset the whole console just to get back to the level selection. Really poor design. What really sucks is that I had a jetpack before. I got it in exchange for some crumpets that I had left over from Quest 1. Now I don't have any of those items because I'm playing in a different browser. So I go around cyberspace collecting the ingredients to make crumpets. Then I go to the store that makes crumpets. I trade for the jetpack. Then my inventory does a weird graphical glitch. Now, hopefully, I'm ready to beat the water race. This jetpack looks pretty sweet so far. I can just skip over all of these obstacles. This would have been useful in the other race, not that it matters now. I figured that I can land safely if I activate the jetpack slightly after I start sinking. However, I quickly discover a problem. The jetpack only works once per trial, and there is another pool farther along the track. So, what now? Do I need another item? The race's prompt mentions something called water wheels, but from this description it seems like they are optional. I decided to look for them anyway because why not? I looked all over cyberspace and I could not figure out where to find these wheels. None of the NPCs say anything about them, and none of the stores seem to be selling them. After a while, I discovered something that caught my attention. At the surf shop, in addition to the normal items that you can buy, there are also some that you can trade in exchange for other items. In the trading catalog, there are these 4 wheels that might be that for which I'm looking. The problem is that they aren't labeled as water wheels. Look at the regular store interface. When I click on an item, its name appears. That's good. That's a good design choice, because I like to actually know what I'm buying. Someone decided that that interface isn't good enough, so they came up with a different interface that doesn't show the name of the item until I get to the checkout screen. And to get to the checkout screen, I have to have an item that the store is requesting. The store wants either speed wheels or a Capitron. Going into this exchange, I didn't have either of those. So I bought a Capitron just so that I could exchange it for these mystery wheels. And that's not even an item from this quest. This game has me buying an item from Quest 1 on this needlessly complicated fetch quest. So these mystery wheels did turn out to be the water wheels for which I've been looking. Time to test them out in a race. Now this course is trivial. The bot just floats right over the water. Since the wheels have unlimited uses, I don't even need the jetpack anymore. So that means that the game actually lied to me in the text that precedes this race. Look, it clearly states that I need a jetpack to beat the record. That's obviously not true. There's no obstacle in this course that is impassable without a jetpack. And the jetpack barely makes Skatebot any faster, if at all. I say, don't even go to the effort to get the jetpack. It's not necessary. The last race is actually the most straightforward. It requires donuts and mud wheels. I happened upon both of those items while I was searching for water wheels. There's this bugger named Buzz who will hang down to obstruct my Skatebot. I throw donuts at him with the spacebar. Sometimes he doesn't go away and I just roll right through him. So I was able to beat all 3 races individually. Unfortunately, I get that endless loading screen after every one of them. So the game won't register my progress and acknowledge that I've completed the quest. I've tried other browsers and I've tinkered with various settings within my admittedly limited expertise in getting Flash games to work. I kept coming up with the same issue. Well, I'm comfortable leaving the review off there for now. As far as I care, I've beaten this quest. Let me just say that was an extremely tedious and not fun game. In the first quest, there's some fun to be had, even though that quest is an unfinished mess. You can explore the world and play various mini-games to edutain yourself. This quest is completely lacking in content that it doesn't carry over from Mission Motherboard. It takes the worst, most base aspects of a point-and-click adventure game. The overworld is a tedious and convoluted fetch quest. And the game's unique skating segments aren't very well developed either. Even if you get past the broken controls, there isn't much fun to be had. You'd just be jumping and ducking around mundane obstacles. It's nothing overly exciting. So, that's Race for Radopolis. From what I've seen of Quest 3, it seems to be quite different from the 2 that I've already reviewed. I'd like to put out a review of that soon. Goodbye, thanks for watching.